Germany, once the powerhouse of Europe, is in the grip of an economic crisis unlike any it's faced before. And it's not because of global market crashes or outside forces. This crisis is self-made. It's a bit of a shock when you think about it, given Germany's track record. This is the country that gave us top-notch cars, cutting-edge technology, and a manufacturing scene that's been the envy of the world. Remember the Wirtschaftswunder? That was Germany's comeback story after World War II, turning ruins into a booming economy that became a model for others to follow. And of course, key to Germany's post-war economic strategy was an emphasis on manufacturing and a commitment to high-quality production. The country invested heavily in research and development, fostering a culture of innovation that would lead to global leadership in several industries, notably the automotive sector. Brands like Mercedes, BMW, and Volkswagen became symbols of German engineering excellence, driving the nation's economic engine forward. This focus on manufacturing excellence, coupled with a robust vocational training system, ensured a steady supply of skilled workers, further cementing Germany's status as a global industrial powerhouse. However, in recent years, shifts in policy and strategy have challenged the very foundations of Germany's economic strength. Welcome to Living History. Germany's economy is today facing 5 serious issues, marking a significant shift from its traditional tale of wealth and resilience. To begin with, there is the energy transition and dependency on Russian gas. The decision to phase out nuclear power by 2022, part of a broader strategy to embrace renewable energy sources, has had unintended consequences for the nation's energy security and cost structure. This shift, while underlining Germany's commitment to environmental sustainability, has turned the country from a net exporter of energy in 2003 to a net importer today, and significantly increased its reliance on Russian gas, making the country vulnerable to geopolitical tensions and fluctuations in energy prices. The recent crisis, made worse by the conflict in Ukraine, underscored this vulnerability, as the disappearance of Russian gas from European pipelines sent energy costs soaring, directly impacting the competitiveness of German industries and the affordability of energy for German households. Next up, we have the fiscal crisis and budgetary constraints. Germany's implementation of the debt brake, a constitutional amendment introduced in 2009 to limit public debt, was initially hailed as a prudent measure to ensure fiscal discipline. However, its rigid application during times of crisis, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic turndown, has highlighted the challenges of balancing fiscal responsibility with the need for investment in future-oriented sections like digital infrastructure and clean energy. This was further highlighted by a recent court ruling against the government's budget plan for 2024. At the heart of this fiscal crisis was the intended allocation of 60 billion euros from a COVID-19 emergency fund to a new climate and transformation fund, a move deemed unconstitutional. This decision highlighted the government's poor handling of money and put in question whether its strict budget rules, like the debt brake, are too rigid. More importantly, this fiscal conservatism goes against what has allowed Germany to prosper in the first place, its ability to invest in critical future-oriented projects, hampering innovation and investment in the economy. It does, however, get worse. Germany is also facing major labor market challenges. Despite the country's rich history of vocational training and technical education, it currently grapples with a severe shortage of skilled workers. This issue is compounded by Germany's failure to attract international talent, a problem rooted in societal and policy barriers as well as high tax rates that deter skilled immigrants. The shortage of qualified professionals, particularly in technology-related fields, not only stifles innovation but also amplifies the challenges posed by high wages and labor shortages in key industries. This situation highlights a disconnect between Germany's economic needs and its immigration and labor policies. We will come back to this in a moment though, so hold on to that. Before we do though, we also need to look at the rise of Chinese competition. The ascent of Chinese competition, especially in the automotive sector presents yet another challenge to Germany's economic dominance. The shift towards electric vehicles, EVs, and the implementation of strict European emission standards have caught German manufacturers in a cost competitiveness bind. Meanwhile, Chinese companies, unfettered by such issues and buoyed by a massive domestic market, have rapidly scaled up their EV production, capturing significant market share both in China and globally. This competition is not limited to the automotive sector. It extends to other industries where Germany once held a competitive edge, such as chemicals and electrical engineering. The situation is a stark reminder of the need for German industries to innovate and adapt to maintain their global leadership, something they have been painfully slow to do in recent years. And then, of course, there is the government's role in these economic challenges. Regulatory burdens, a slow pace of digital infrastructure development, and fiscal mismanagement have collectively contributed to the economic malaise. The government's struggle to balance environmental commitments with energy security, fiscal discipline with economic growth, and tradition with innovation has led to policy decisions that all too often contradict the long-term interests of the economy. As Germany struggles with its current economic challenges, a look back in time shows striking parallels from which crucial lessons seem to have been overlooked. Just consider this. In the aftermath of World War II, Germany faced a daunting economic landscape, yet it emerged as a global economic powerhouse through a combination of innovation, flexibility, and forward-thinking policies. The Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle, was not just a result of external aid, but also of internal decisions that prioritized investment in industry, research, and development, alongside the establishment of a social market economy that balanced economic growth with social welfare. This period underscored the importance of adaptability and the willingness to embrace technological advancement and change. Contrastingly, the current economic landscape reveals a departure from these principles. The energy transition, while ambitious and necessary for environmental sustainability, was executed with a degree of rigidity and without adequate preparation for the interim consequences on energy security and industrial competitiveness. The historical lesson from the oil crisis of 1973 of diversifying energy sources and maintaining flexibility in energy policy seems to have been all but forgotten in the rush towards renewables, leaving the economy vulnerable to external geopolitical pressures. Similarly, the fiscal crisis and the challenges surrounding the debt brake seem to have overlooked the lessons of the past. Germany's historical success was partly due to its ability to invest in future-oriented projects and infrastructure, fostering innovation and economic growth. However, the rigid application of fiscal rules in recent times has constrained the country's ability to respond to crises and invest in necessary transformations, reminiscent of the missed opportunities for reform that have historically preceded economic downturns, such as the one Germany faced in the late 1920s and early 1930s. That's not all, though. The labor market challenges and the struggle to attract international talent also echo past periods, when Germany's economic growth was buoyed by a robust workforce. The failure to adapt immigration and education policies to the needs of a rapidly changing global economy underlines a departure from the forward-thinking approach that characterized Germany's post-war recovery and subsequent prosperity when the country actively sought to attract skilled labor through its Gastarbeiter programs in the 1970s and 80s. Moreover, the rise of Chinese competition in the automotive and other industrial sectors highlights a missed lesson in the importance of continuous innovation and adaptation, a lesson the German automotive industry could have done well to learn from American car manufacturers such as General Motors and Ford, who dominated the global market with their large, powerful vehicles for most of the 20th century. However, they were slow to recognize the shift in consumer preferences towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars in the aftermath of the oil crisis of the 1970s, a gap that Japanese manufacturers like Toyota and Honda were quick to fill. This oversight led to significant setbacks for the US auto industry, from which it never really recovered. German automakers are facing a similar reckoning today. Just as Germany once led the world with its high-quality manufacturing and engineering, it now risks falling behind due to a reluctance to swiftly adapt to new technologies and market realities. Germany's current economic challenges are largely self-inflicted, diverging from the innovative and adaptable strategies that fueled its post-war economic miracle. However, the challenges facing the country, while significant, are not impossible to fix. But will Germany learn from its history? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to find out more about how Britain is destroying its economy, check out our next video, linked here.